Previously on Sons of Anarchy. This is episode 3. Last time we covered 2 and 3. This time I think we shall cover 4 and 5. And as always, I'll be reading off my notes. We're going to go through everything, maybe a couple of refreshers. Wow. This lighting got me feeling some type of way. Let's begin. A classic trigger warning for these types of episodes. There's murder and violence and drug use. We have episode 4 called Patchover. It starts off with Hale and Cohen at the police station. But as I said before, fuck Cohen. He's a fucking weirdo. He's literally stalking Tara, but he told Hale that he's there to investigate the Sons. And then he says the most fucking annoying thing. I've been jonesing for a Starbucks since I got here. Let's get the fuck out of here, bitch. Jesus. Nobody fucking asked. And then you learn that the club hasn't had any investigations open on them for 5 years, which is pretty good considering all the crazy shit they're constantly doing. Because they learn that they are under investigation by Cohen. They have to put all the guns that are in their clubhouse somewhere else because if their clubhouse gets raided, they can't find anything there. I think they might be able to get their brother club in Nevada to hold their guns for them. However, Clay's kind of weird about it, but Jax and Bobby agree to go. It just so happens that the leader of the other biker gang in Nevada was in the war with Jax's dad. So they have history, and he calls him Uncle Jury. Uncle Jury is on the list. They swear they're not gonna go cowboy, but Tara's stalker has left rose petals on the top of her car. And then you see her go inside and she gets her gun that she has. She'll shoot that motherfucker if he tries anything. Then she decides to go to the car shop with her car that does need work, but in a way that's oh, my car needs work. Will you drive me home, Jax? Because she wants the ATF to see that she's with Jax and that he's a scary biker guy or whatever. And then Gemma agrees to give Tara a ride home because Jax is on his way to Nevada. But they kind of attract a little bit of Mayan attention because Nevada is the Mayans' territory and they're kind of trying to push out the other biker gang that's there. Back at TM, you see Gemma and Tara are in the car together and she has to get out. She leaves her bag. So Gemma goes through her bag and finds a fucking gun. And she's like, what the fuck is Tara carrying a gun for? Essentially, Tara says, I carried this when I lived in Chicago because I lived in a really dangerous part of town. So she drives her home and she asks, does it have a serial number? Do you know how to use that? So then you see Jax and Bobby back at their ride to Nevada and they stop at a gas station and there's some dude that is sitting on Jack's bike and he has a girl with him and he's making the girl take a picture of him while he sits on Jack's bike, and then essentially he just beats up the guy for sitting on his bike and then steals his girlfriend. So he takes his girlfriend over to the Nevada biker gang with Bobby, and it's kind of where you meet Cherry, who's they call her a sweet butt, which I'm not a big fan of that, but she essentially sleeps with a bunch of the biker guys and is really wants to be an old lady. And she's been doing it for 3 years. So this is where you first meet her. She will be important later on. She's played by the girl from Orange is the New Black, the Christian freak with the fucked up meth teeth. Then you see that Cohen, the agent, has followed Jax and Bobby and is taking pictures of them. You see Jax and Bobby talking, and Bobby asks if he is like feeling some kind of weird, feeling some type of way about the club because his kid and everything, and he's been arguing with Clay a lot, and he just wants to know what's up with that. And then Jax is just kind of like, yeah, no, it's fine. He doesn't really act like that, but that's essentially what he does. This is kind of a funny moment where Tig, I don't know if I introduced you guys to Tig. I think I added him into the edits in the last video, but I don't think I ever introduced you to him. But he's kind of like not my favorite character really all that much, but the actor does a good job of portraying the character, I believe. He's always on some weird shit, like all the time. That's like who Tig is. So Tig and Juice go to break in to steal a truck. There's like a Doberman, and then you see them like feed him a piece of meat that has like drugs in it. So like eventually the dog takes the meat and runs off, and then they go in, and then the dog like comes running after them like crazy, and then bites Tig on the ass, and he's like, what the fuck? I thought you drugged him. What the fuck's going on? And he's like, yeah, I did. I gave him 2 grams. He's like, 2 grams of what? And it's like, 2 grams of crack. You see, Gemma, she actually owns a white bird. She loves her bird a lot. Gemma also has a box of guns, and she's like searching through all of them, like this hat box just full of handguns, and she ends up calling her friend Luann, who is Otto's old lady, to see if she could do like a background check on Tara, to see like if she could figure out why she's carrying a gun, like if she's like a criminal or something. So the Brother Club is getting pushed out really bad by the Mayans right now. They're trying to like take money from them, and they're like fucking up their shit and stuff. So they either have to like give in because they don't really have anything, or they can maybe patch over, which is essentially the name of the episode, which is where they take another club and patch them over to their club. So they show up, and then Clay and them show up like shortly after Jax and Bobby show up, and do the patch over thing where it kind of like low-key seems like they're just taking over. I'm Jax Teller. Notably, during the patch over, it seems like it's like like they're overthrowing them a little bit, but like at the end of the day, the Uncle Jury, the president of that club, agreed to it, so I guess it's not really. But then Jax puts it down. Jax puts it down lightly. But then you see Clay, and he just rips down like their club tapestry and like spray paints a shitty SOA on the wall. And I think it's supposed to be really badass, but I think he's just acting like an asshole. Because I fucking hate Clay Morrow, but he's one of my least favorite characters. I'll just leave it at that. Then you have a canon event where Cherry meets Half Sack, and they kind of hit it off. But earlier in the episode, you see Tig and Half Sack at TM, and Gemma shows up, and she is like bending over, and Half Sack like looks at her ass. And then he tells Tig, wow, Gemma gives me a serious MILF chubby. And Tig's like, bruh. And then Clay's standing behind him, and he's like, bruh. Clay sees this and hooks up with Cherry because he can, because there's just zero like bodily anatomy rights in these clubs whatsoever to these girls. I mean, I don't know. Because then she's like, I help them out and they help me out, and I really want to be an old lady, and like, you know, whatever. Anyways, she just does what she's told to do, essentially, is what she says. Which is just gross. He calls a cigar a stogie, which is just like, don't ever fucking say that again, please. And then the morning after the patch over party, where Jax is like on a ride to go clear his mind or whatever, and in his dad's book it mentioned a bridge with like a quote underneath it, so he went to the bridge to see the quote. And on the way back, he like purposefully, so he knows that because of the patch over, the Mayans are gonna come fuck up the new Sons I don't know what to call them. The other Sons of Anarchy? The Sons of Anarchy Nevada? So he knows that because of the patch over, the Mayans are gonna come try to like fuck them up, and they know that all these old dudes, I think Jax calls them bookkeepers and bouncers. They're not gonna be able to defend themselves like the Sons are, because the Sons are a bunch of crazy outlaw guys. So he purposefully starts shit with the Mayans on his way back. The fight was inevitable, so he just wanted to make it happen while he had people there to defend them. And that's what he did. After that, they have to like discuss with each other and the other gang if they're gonna actually switch over, and like a bunch of guys leave. Oh my god, during the fight scene when the Mayans come and they're like shooting at each other and shit, this girl is just like hiding behind like the skinniest tree ever. There's bullets flying everywhere, and you're hiding behind like the smallest little stick tree you could ever possibly think. Then you see that Cohen is there all the time taking pictures of Jax, and while he's like sleeping with this random girl that he picked up from the guy that he beat up at the gas station, and shooting up people and partying hard and everything. Cohen is getting pictures of it all. So he blackmails him and sends the pictures to Tara. He gets back, and as soon as he gets back, Cohen gets back. Obviously, they're coming and going from the same place. And so he blackmails him by sending the pictures to Tara. So that, my friends, was episode 4. We're talking about episode 5. I love this episode. I think it's a great like exposition episode where you just learn so much about the backstory in such a little time, and it has to do with my favorite character. So let's fucking do it. So to mark this episode, I have a new notebook. Also, look at my beautiful pen. This was a gift. Opie fans rise up. This is called Giving Back. There's a guy who's like a friend of SAMCRO's in jail, and he's getting jumped, and then Otto saves him. His name is Chucky. He's kind of like a weird chronic masturbator. That's literally like probably the best description to give him. And then he's getting out, so he needs the Sons to protect him when he gets out. Then you see Gemma is setting up a fundraiser called The Taste of Charming that she does every year, and she raises a bunch of money and gives it to like the school or like the hospital or like whatever the fuck. Opie is doing the fireworks because he needs work, and Gemma loves Opie. Although they don't really interact all that much, the story of Jax and Opie growing up together really, you know, like obviously his mom was around Opie just as much as Jax was when they were kids at least. Then you see a woman come up to Gemma while she's setting up the fundraiser and asks if her husband can come, and if she can ask Clay if her husband can come, because her husband has been excommunicated from the club. Then you see Jax at the baby microwave with Abel, and Cohen is just like watching them through the window like a fucking weirdo, and Jax gets up and he's like, hey, can I help you? And he's like, beautiful child, and like walks away. And then you learn that the reason he's excommunicated from the club is because he's the reason why Opie is in jail. And you know that Gemma kind of knows what's up, but she's just like, I don't want any shit at my like fundraiser. The guy they're protecting, Chuck, he has been like cooking the books of the Chinese mob and has hidden away $416,000 in Chinese food restaurant. So the Sons are gonna go get the money and like do something with it. Then you see Tara at work, and Cohen just shows up to her work and like talks, like pushes her to like a silent room and just like forces her to have a conversation with him, even though obviously she wouldn't want to have a conversation with him. So you then learn that his federal jurisdiction makes her restraining order completely useless. because he's in town for work. And then you see a really sad part where they agree, Opie says it's okay, where they can have that guy there, the guy that's been excommunicated, the reason why Opie went to prison, because he wants to see how bad his life is without the club, and he wants to relish in that fact. So it's sad when he shows up and it seems like he has like this really, really, really young hot wife and like a really nice new truck, a good relationship with his family, even though he is like divorced from his wife. But that's not that his ex-wife likes him at all, because she's like, you really had to bring your fucking like 21-year-old new wife here to your son's gig, because the whole reason he's there is to see his son play in his band during the fireworks. When you see that he's low-key kind of happy with his family, it's annoying. And Opie is bothered by that fact as well. So then you see that his name is Kyle. Fuck Kyle. He barely even deserves a descriptor. You know all you need to know about him. So he is playing egg toss with his kid, and his kid gets egg on his shirt. So he asks if his wife will like take off his overcoat, and she pulls it off and it pulls up his shirt a little bit, and you see that he still has his giant Sons of Anarchy back tattoo, which I know I haven't mentioned up until now, but now is when they make it the most important moment to mention it, that they all have this ginormous back tattoo that looks just like the patch. And when you leave the club, you're supposed to get it all blacked out or removed, and Kyle had not done either, and you could see that on his back. So Opie and Jax are the only ones that see this. And then Jax is about to get up and confront him, and Opie's like, no, I'll do this. And it's not the first time you'll see him do that, because he is a man of honor, and he's a good guy, and he deserves much better than having to go to prison for 5 years. He's like, no, I'll do this. And then he like confronts him in at the gym, and he's with his son, but he tells his son to go away so he could talk to him. And that's when they get to a fight. And you can tell, because now that they know he doesn't have his tattoo covered, it's a fucking issue. So Jax and Opie are pissed about it. And so they fight. Kyle and Opie fight it out in the gym. And then Jax comes in and is like, oh, you guys are done talking? So a little bit before, at the fair, Jax was confronting Kyle and being like, don't talk to anybody, don't do anything. We don't want you here. You're only here to see your kid. And he was like, I found like a illegal parts trade thing. I just wanted to let you guys know, and it's like an apology from me to you. And obviously Jax and Opie can like smell the bullshit, but there's something that they're planning to do. And so he's like, yeah, we'll talk tonight, because when you're in town, just come to like the clubhouse, and we'll get everybody together and we'll talk about it. Then cuts back to the carnival, where Gemma learns that Cohen is an agent because she's working behind the bingo desk and he's grilling sausages on the other side. And that's when Unser comes up to her, but her and Unser are old friends, and she's just like, who's that guy? And he's like, oh, that's the ATF agent, that's our friend, the guy who's looking into the club. And she notices him because Tara shows up, and Tara looks at Cohen and is like, oh, fuck no, and like turns around all scared looking. Jax and the guys go to get the money from the Chinese food restaurant during the middle of the day, because the chronic masturbation has gotten to a point where they don't want to deal with it anymore. They just want to go get the money. Clay gives like the lightest punch ever, like when they realize that the money was fake money with plates. When they learn it's fake money and the fucking Chinese mob is like coming after them, and not only do they want the money, they want the plates, and they would love to have Chuck too. So Clay like bribes them to take, he doesn't even bribe them, he like convinces them to give him a bunch of money for the fake money and the plates, and Chuck. So he just gives Chuck to the other guy for a bunch of money. And that's kind of a dick move, really, when you're literally hired help, but you sell him away. I fucking hate Clay. I think he's a bad man. And then after this, you see they meet with Kyle. Funny enough, they're meeting with Kyle at TM while his kid is playing, and he doesn't seem to give a fuck that his kid is playing. And Opie can't even be there for it, unfortunately, but... Which proves that it was never really about seeing his kid perform in the first place. It was about finding his way back to SAMCRO. So they're hanging out, chilling, and like drinking and like taking shots and everything and just being totally chill. And then Bobby's like, I got a cool bike in the garage. Come look at it. It's awesome. And so he follows them out there, and they all go out there, and then they surround him and they're like, take your shirt off. And he doesn't, so they like force it off. And then they're like, what the fuck? Like, why? You know you're supposed to get this taken off of you when you're not a part of the club anymore. And you literally got kicked out because you put Opie in prison. So, when Opie got arrested, it was because he blew up a warehouse, and Kyle was supposed to be his getaway driver, but Kyle got scared and drove off and just left Opie, and then he went to jail for 5 years. And they give him a choice, and Clay says, fire or knife. And he's like begging and like doesn't want to choose, and like is like apologizing really profusely. And then he chooses fire eventually, and they chain him up and torch the ink off of his back. And all the while, his wife doesn't see him at the show, so she's like, where's he at? And then Gemma wonders, I wonder where he is at. I saw him with Opie last. Let me go ask Opie. So Opie actually just tells her, like, probably what's up, because Gemma knows everything. So Gemma tells her, she's just like, you guys should probably go to the hospital. You should go to the hospital. I'll drive your kids home. I don't know anything else. I'm sorry. And, like, leaves. They torch his back tattoo off and then drop him in front of the hospital. And yeah. This is a really heavy show sometimes, you know? And so I appreciate everybody sticking around and watching it and letting me make a little fun of it by dressing up as Jax Teller's drag king brother. Thanks for watching. This has been fun. I'm excited as we go further on in the series. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more. And be free now.